Well, good evening everyone. And I've just noticed I've got no light on me, so I'm sure you don't want to actually see my face, but I'll put a light on just to make it a little bit brighter.
Everyone, raise your hand if you prefer silhouette. Mitch.
Yes, thank you very much, Shrenik. As you can hear, we've got my friend Shrenik moderating in the chat, and I just had a quick look and I can see quite a few people in there this evening, so welcome to you all. I've now finished the scrub plane, so I'm going to show you that in a moment and give a little demonstration of it working. Hopefully it'll still work. What I've done to it since I last saw you is I've taken the material for the bridge pin that I had, and here's the cut off for that. So slightly thicker diameter bar, just goes in nice and snugly in the holes, and I've also plugged the ends of that, so that's now fixed in place. So let's go over and have a look and see how she blows.
Got a new name here. Hi Tom.
So here goes the old plane. You can see I've got U plugs in the sides there for the bridge pin. I did detail the flying bridge a little bit, and I've got my initials in there, but you kind of need it, have it in your hands to see that properly. And the moulding that I was doing on it last time, I've extended it a lot more. I've come around the front here and I've put little finger grips in specifically for me. I've got arthritis in my fingers and thumbs, so I've made it so that the worst ones don't do any action on here. So I can hold the plane with the lower three fingers, which is still good, and at the back there I'm just using my palm and just sort of dangling everything around it, and it works really well. So hopefully it's set nicely.
Could you zoom out on that camera a little bit, Mitch? Just to show everyone the...
What was that, Shrenik?
Could you zoom out a little bit on that camera so everyone can see the full plane? Or could you show it on the other camera, so because we can only see, it's quite zoomed in.
Oh, here you mean, in the close-up?
Yeah. No, I'm saying can you zoom out, move away from it so we can see.
Oh, okay, I see.
So we can see the whole plane. There we go. Perfect. Looks lovely.
Thank you. So anyone who is joining for the first time may not know, I decided to make a scrub plane. I took on a couple of challenges along the way, which entailed putting a dovetailed sole on it, and basically made from scraps that I had around the workshop. Got beech on the bottom and through the middle, and I've got some apparently African marble wood. That's what it was given to me as. It's incredibly hard. In fact, I think that probably would have made a bit of sole. But anyway, U-wedge, U-inserts covering up the bridge pins, and the iron is made from an old tyre iron, and it's still got Dunlop actually punched into it. Now, I'm most unused to using wooden planes, to be honest, so even though
I thought the Americans might laugh at that as because they're Dunlop plane iron, but there's an American plane company who made Dunlap planes.
Ah.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting way too much iron on there at the moment. But anyway, we'll see, we'll get there eventually, and that's loosened everything up, so.
Paul says it's like a Viking ship, he loves it.
Still not quite enough on there. That's better. I linseed oiled it today, and I think it still needs to dry out a bit on the wedge. Probably should have left that alone, but it'll come good eventually. So it's taking considerably thick shavings. I've got a very acute camber on it, I guess, as you would with a scrub plane. And I'm really happy with it. So I'm going to be feeding that with linseed oil probably for the next couple of months intermittently, rather than doing the dunking method of leaving it in a bucket of it overnight. And that'll allow me to use it all that time. So
Tobacco Maker says it looks like a whale blowing its spout, going from back to front.
Thank you. Which Where She Blows actually came from that. So the title of the stream. So we must be on similar lines of thought there.
And Lego Man says the oil on the wedge will dry up nicely. He noticed that with his 18th century jack.
Yeah, I was in two minds because I've not done it before. I had two minds as to whether to put any oil on it or not, but I thought probably get oil inside it would be good for protection, and on the outside for looks it would be nice.
I think oil's a good idea, but I don't think wax would be a good idea.
I think wax you'd end up probably having to scrape it off again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good call. Right, so that's the end of that little project. So what am I going to be doing next? There are loads of things that we've talked about, but one of the things I'd forgotten last time I spoke to you was a window. So I've decided I'm going to make a window. And I've been looking around and found some drawings, or actually found these quite some while ago, in a book. I forget how old it is. Strennick might know. It's the
I have that book.
McKay one.
I know exactly which book it is, and I cannot remember who the author is. McKay, I think.
McKay, yeah, that's it. McKay, yeah.
McKay. W.B. McKay, I think.
So that was contemporary building construction back in earlier in the 20th century. And there's you probably can't see it too clearly on the stream, but there are some windows there.
I'll pop a link to the copy that I bought in the chat, so people can see.
Excellent, thanks Strennick. It's a great book, and one of the plates in it shows the construction of window sashes and the whole window actually. So my idea is to start by making a window sash, one that will be fixed, one that will be moving, so upper and lower, and then if all goes well to continue and make a framework for it. Now this just be a demonstration piece, so it'll all fit nicely on the bench, probably I don't know, a foot 18 inches wide by maybe 2 foot high, and I'm going to be doing it all unplugged. So probably something that hasn't been done for centuries, because most people, once power was introduced, would be using power tools. But I think it's a good challenge to do unplugged. Now mainly I'm going to be working with combination planes, because I don't have wooden moulding planes. Rebate planes are going to be used a lot as well, and obviously dimensioning with normal bench planes. So there's going to be a lot of plane work in it.
I think you've got to make a moulding plane for this. Lego Man asked, will you be needing to make any moulding planes? I think you've got to challenge yourself to make a moulding plane for it.
Well, no doubt I will be making a moulding plane. Whether I'll need it for this one, we'll just have to see what happens. But since I've just done a plane, for the time being I'm going to start this window. If I get stuck and I need a specific moulding plane, then I may well pause and make one, because as you know, I like a challenge.
Well, they're relatively cheap on eBay as well. If you need a specific plane, I'm sure you could buy one.
Indeed, or I now have some colleagues who know about planes and have lots of planes who may be able to send me some photos and help me out if I need to make one. So
Definitely.
and the old Bench Talk 101 group, and also we got the as we met the other day, some plane makers on a plane life. So I think there's plenty of resources out there that I could call upon if I get stuck. That's the wonder of modern age with all this communication. You can get the information you need quite easily. So I don't know whether anyone said anything about Windows and whether they're interested in Windows. To be honest with you, I want to make a window, so I'm going to be making a window. And
I tend to prefer Mac to Windows.
what was that?
I said I tend to prefer Mac to Windows.
Ha ha ha, very good. I might make a Mac later. That's an in-joke, but I will be making a window. If you don't like Windows, then there will be other things happening on the channel that you can watch for. And eventually we will get through the window, and as I say, partway through I may need to make some different tools to help me with that window. But it's all good, unplugged woodworking, which brings me on to something else. You must remind me when I finish this little diatribe on Windows, something I need to tell you about the plane. So for the window, there's going to be plenty of plane work. There's going to be quite a lot of joints actually, and intricate joints. So some joint work. So use of chisels and saws, etc. So I think it's going to be a good challenge for me because I've never made a window. It's going to be interesting, hopefully, for a lot of you. So back to the plane. I was supposed to be making that plane totally unplugged, and I completely screwed that up because when I cut the plugs to go in the bridge pin, I just used the bench drill, the pillar drill with a plug cutter. So I've screwed up there.
Well, I was going to message you earlier. You said that you could use a hand drill or a brace or something and try and make something work for it. But actually, you could buy a hand crank pillar drill.
Yes, indeed. Good point.
Yes, and you didn't think of that, so I was going to message you and tell you that.
No, I didn't think of that. I'm going to still try at some point using one of the plug cutters, well, the plug cutter I used, which, if you don't know about plug cutters, here's a little look at one. Basically a four-pronged, well, this type is four-pronged cutter, cuts a very slightly wedged plug up to about 3/4 of an inch deep, which you then saw off the board and use to plug your holes. So ordinarily you'd use it in a drill press. I'm going to see if I can make that function with a hand drill at the workbench. And I think I'll need to jig it somehow, because if it wobbles at all then the cutters go offline and it completely screws things up. But I'm going to try that just to see whether or not it would have been possible to do that plane entirely unplugged. So I thought I'd better tell you that, because I'm sure somebody would have noticed eventually.
Yeah, well, the hamsters don't, hamsters are unplugged, aren't they?
Hamsters, yeah. So actually I could have got some hamsters running my bench drill. If they can run fast enough, that is.
Might be easier to find mice or rats though in the wild.
I think perhaps a challenge for Jim would be to build a bench, a pillar drill to run off his treadle lathe.
I dare you to challenge Jim.
He'd probably just say, I'll stick the cutter in the lathe head and move my work towards that, and that would work, of course. Oh, and also, of course, I did the flying bridge. I cleaned that up on the lathe as well, so I did totally screwed up. I could have done that, of course, with sandpaper, and I could have drilled it easily at the bench. But there you go, my intention of doing it unplugged, screwed up. So hands up for that one. We'll try and do better with the windows. We'll try and do it completely unplugged.
It's going to be hard without turning the computer on.
Ha ha ha! Yes, indeed. Well, I'll do it unplugged, but if I do it completely unplugged, then you won't be able to see it. But so you'll have to allow me a computer, cameras, etc., if you want to see it. Right, well, that's pretty much it.
I think we had a question from Scott on the window, actually. He was asking if you were going to weight the window.
The idea will be to have pulleys, whether I use springs or weights, probably weights. It would seem the most obvious.
I think you should definitely try and do it as traditionally as possible and weight it.
Yeah. So let's try and do that. I've got some lead somewhere, but I won't be able to melt that unless I use some propane. Does that come as unplugged? I don't know.
Well, it is. There's no electricity involved.
I have to plug the actual gas into the torch, but yeah, I'll get away with that, I think.
There's no electricity involved.
No electric.
And then Peter was saying that you've got a sash window blade in the combination plane set.
Yes, indeed. Yep. But that's to cut just the sash, I believe. There seem to be an awful lot of different profiles apart from that, so I'll have to work those out.
Lego Man's very excited for the window.
Yay!
He said
good.
maybe you can put it above a trash can so you can say exit window.
Yes, indeed. Very good. Yeah, well, hopefully, as I say, some of you will enjoy it.
Scott doesn't like the idea of the springs.
Scott doesn't. No.
No, I think you should definitely use weights.
I don't know anything about the history of sash windows, but I guess pulleys came first.
Yeah, so they were always weighted, as far as I know. Anyway.
Okie doke. I do know originally they didn't have any form of aid in lifting them or keeping them up. They used to be propped up by sticks. So the original ones had nothing like that at all. But obviously the first time you had any mechanical advantage in lifting them and in holding them balanced was, I guess, when the weights came in.
Yeah. Though Scott says helix springs are rubbish. That's why. Well, Scott's a carpenter, so he would know.
I'll take your advice on that, and I may be calling on you for more advice, Scott, if you're a carpenter, because I'm sure you know how to make a sash window. Peter, noted. Yep. Do that on Instagram. Yorkshire sash windows slide side to side, no weights. Interesting. Well, since mine is going to be so small a window, I'll better turn it on its side and demonstrate both variants.
Scott says they make them in college. Scott's a teacher in a college, so.
Oh, cool. Well, if you want to help me out with any ideas of how to get along with doing it by hand, then and unplugged, do drop me a line. Because I am in the case of Windows, well, and many other things, I'm a complete rookie. So it's going to be a challenge. If I weight it, it'll need pockets cut. It will indeed. I shall have to do a bit of research on how they were originally cut. There are diagrams in the drawing I've got of what they should look like, but the method of cutting them isn't included, I don't think. Well, Scott loves doing that. Is that cutting the pockets or just making them? I'll slip something interesting in here, maybe totally irrelevant. I didn't manage to do last Wednesday's live stream because we thought there was possibly COVID in the family. And funnily enough, a few days after that, I was feeling pretty low myself. So I don't know whether, having had the old AstraZeneca, I had very slight COVID and got over that, but I'm certainly feeling a hell of a lot better today than I was yesterday.
Glad to hear you're feeling better, Mitch.
Yeah, it's really quite weird. A few days of feeling, just perhaps 80%. So I'm up to 95 at the moment.
Well, it could be that you didn't get it, but it could also be that you were just worried and that was it, really.
Yeah, could have been a bit of that.
Very silly things sometimes.
Indeed. Could have been too much jogging.
Maybe it was too much planing.
Oh, most likely.
You've been very excited by this scrub plane, I can tell.
Oh, I have. Although for the last week, I've just been wanting to finish it. As Scott he loves cutting pockets. Cool. Well, I'd love to hear the way you do that, Scott. So if you want to contact me through Facebook or Instagram, be most grateful to hear from you, or just put a comment in the video. Peter says, bugger getting the parting bead out after they've been painted. Yeah, I saw that. I did some videos years ago now with a sash window repairer, and he's certainly having a lot of struggles getting the parting beads out of the windows he was doing when I was visiting him. Paul's got an excuse for bench talk there.
Paul, what excuse have you got for bench talk? Go on, spell it.
Is that an excuse for going there or for not going there?
I don't think you'd ever come up with an excuse not for joining. It's very hard to come up with a good one.
It is, and there's usually something, even if it's not the subject you're particularly interested in, there's usually a catch in Jeffrey's or your post about it that makes one wonder and think, oh, I just can't miss it, I've got to turn up.
Well, it's been me for the last few weeks now. The last 3 or 4 weeks I've been running it. So.
That's right, yeah. Do you want to tell everyone who it is tomorrow, or what it is tomorrow, I should say?
Well, tomorrow evening we've got a talk, and I will tell you what the talk is, and the talk is passing the mallet. So, what have you been doing to encourage, or to share the trade and make sure that the art and the craft isn't lost for future generations? Or if you're young, what have you been doing that what interested you in woodworking? What got you into it? Or even if you're just new to the craft, what made you want to start woodworking and enjoying the craft?
That sounds interesting. Hopefully I've done my bit for passing the mallet.
I think you have, and I'd hope to hear you speak.
And then the week after that, I think we've got a guest speaker.
Yes, we've got Ethan Sincox, the
Cool.
Kilted Woodworker.
Excellent. So if you haven't joined Bench Talk 101 yet, you may like to check him out.
I'd love to see Peter on there. I hope his internet's fast enough now that he can join.
All the details of that are on their Facebook and Instagram pages under Bench Talk 101, so check them out.
Oh, Paul says he's having his jab tomorrow, so he's got an excuse tomorrow.
Ah, Well, if you have the AstraZeneca like I did, you may get a bit of flu symptoms for the next day, but it really isn't enough to warrant having time off bench talk, Paul.
Well, everyone in my house has had the AstraZeneca and they've had no side effects whatsoever.
You're lucky.
Yeah, maybe it's in the genes.
I had it in my arm.
We were all living in a house with someone who had COVID, so, you know, no one else got it. We were all tested.
Yeah, Paul, does this mean that you're late 50s?
Don't offend him.
Well, I've told everyone I've had it. They must think I'm 70.
I thought you were 80, Mitch.
Only in body. You had your letter from the Queen yet? I'm waiting for it. I've got to check that I've updated her with my new address.
Oh dear.
I feel very sad for her today after the old Oprah interview.
Well, let's keep that off this, I think.
Yeah. Peter's getting his next week. Jolly good. I'm just waiting to get my second one. Can't wait for that.
Well, I'm waiting to get mine. I've realised that I need to move my GP from Oxford to London.
Oh.
Which was the reason I couldn't book on one of the evenings. You know, when they... So if you called around 4 o'clock and they've got spaces available, you can quickly go and get a jab.
Yeah.
So they don't waste them. And I haven't been able to book because they can't find me on the system because my GP's in Oxford, not in London.
Oh dear.
Yes, and I need to move it. I moved it 5 years ago.
Oh, Paul's saying 50. Paul, I had you down for about 30, mate. You obviously look after yourself. Well, we're getting so far off topic now, I think we really ought to say, I'll bring this to a close and I can go off and have my nighttime cup of tea. Oh, Paul, before we go, something about your mystery tool. I hope that's clean, but if you want to mention what it is, please do. Shrenik, perhaps is Paul's mystery tool coming up this week?
If he's talking about a mystery tool here, he hasn't told me either.
Have you got the pictures for my mystery tool?
No, I haven't. Have you sent something in?
I sent them to Derek the week after he first mentioned it.
If you send that email over to the Bench Talk email or to me.
Okay.
Same with Paul. Paul, you need to send some pictures to me. I need a mystery tool for tomorrow. If no one else sends me anything, we've got one, but I'm leaving that one on the back burner.
Oh, is that a clue?
No, I'm leaving one because we've already had a mystery tool come in from the same person before.
Oh, okay. I'll see if I can find mine and forward them on to you. Okay, folks. Well, I'm calling it. It's definitely time for me to go and relax. It's been real fun talking to you all. Thanks, Shrenik, for having me out.
Time for a couple of PG tips, right, Mitch?
Absolutely. And a donut.
Oh, going fancy tonight then.
Well, it's a donut most nights, actually. Can't you tell by my waistline?
Watch out, you'll be all edge, no middle.
Alright, cheerio chaps. See you soon. Remember to subscribe and to click notifications if you want to know next time I'm on. Have fun.